Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And hello everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen, and it is Survivor Series War Games weekend, the 39th annual Survivor Series taking place tomorrow night in Petco Park, San Diego, California. Cannot believe it's the 39th annual Survivor Series. First one, of course, happened in 1987. WWE has come a long way since then, where they do now War Games matches almost more traditionally than the traditional Survivor Series matches, but that's a discussion for another time. Before we dive into the predictions for this show, where we only have 4 matches, but they are pretty damn stacked, we will go over the normal nitty-gritty, where follow me on Twitter, at JuicySteen. Follow me on Instagram, at Juicy Wrestling Closet. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, at JuicySteen. Subscribe to this show on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify if you listen to it there. You can also listen to it on Amazon Music, juicysteen.podbean.com. And like I said, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, any of those spots, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you listen on either of those two, please leave a rating and review. That does help the show grow forward. So let's get into it. I mean, this is kind of underneath the traditional Triple H pay-per-view or PLE special here with 4 matches on the card. It's kind of short. However, with SmackDown happening as of this recording, it's even though it's a taped show, we don't know. Maybe there's a match added to the card. Unsure of that. But 4 matches, 2 title matches, 2 War Games matches, a lot going on. We're also in the midst of the Final Four for the Last Time Is Now tournament for the winner to face John Cena, December 13th in Washington, D.C. The Final Four of that bracket, LA Knight versus Jey Uso, and Solo Sikoa versus Gunther. It is pretty simplified to say that Gunther will at least make the final. But, I mean, LA Knight or Jey Uso getting the match would also not surprise me necessarily. But, you know, Penta, I would wager, was supposed to go against Gunther. It didn't end up happening because of a referee's decision to stop the match once Penta got legitimately injured with his shoulder. So it is what it is. Sheamus also injured his shoulder. The Miz won a lottery to replace him, gets a match against LA Knight, and LA Knight gets that victory. So 4 men remain. I would wager the matches will happen either this coming week on Raw or later on SmackDown, one of the two. We shall see. But, you know, that has to be looming. We have to discuss that, considering one of the 4 matches on this show involves John Cena. But we'll get there. Let's dive into this card. 4 matches, like I said, 2 titles, 2 War Games matches. The 4th straight Survivor Series show to have a War Games match on the card. And we've seen some returns. CM Punk famously returned a couple of years ago, amongst some other crazy, pieces of business that have happened in War Games past. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here Saturday night at Petco Park, which should be a really cool looking venue for a Survivor Series. But let's dive into this card. Women's World Title, 1-on-1, Nikki Bella, newly turned heel Nikki Bella, takes on Stephanie Vaquer. This has been an interesting return for Nikki Bella, where she came back to some fanfare because she's a legend and one of those WWE like a legacy talent, and she loves being in WWE. Like, she doesn't need the money, she doesn't need the exposure, but she loves the business and she loves being there for the fans. And even though she came in as a babyface, a lot of the fans started to turn on her for reasons I'm not too sure of, other than maybe the fans don't respect the Divas era as much as WWE would like to put forth. And I'm not talking like Trish Stratus and Lita, and I'm talking about the Divas title era, that '08 through 2014, right before the Four Horsewomen made their debut in WWE. So maybe that's why Nikki Bella is getting that negative reaction, but they've flipped that into Nikki turning heel, and now she's challenging Stephanie Vaquer for the women's world title. But I will keep this short and sweet. I see no way that Stephanie Vaquer loses this championship, and I think it is a pretty safe decision to have Stephanie Vaquer retain her women's world title. Now, what that might mean going forward, I don't know. I'm not sure how this happens, whether it's like a DQ, what have you, but it does seem as if it is a cut and dry Stephanie Vaquer win. But here's what I will say. Because I can't figure out who necessarily would be the next opponent for Stephanie Vaquer, and in the realm kind of Cody and some other talent on the roster, I think the chase is more impactful for a character than actually winning the championship. I'm also looking at Hangman Page. I think that's also something that, as we've seen, Samoa Joe's the new AEW champion, and that makes a whole hell of a lot of sense when you consider that the chase is always more exciting. I'm going to say this. My official prediction for this is that Nikki Bella will win the Women's World Championship. I know a lot of people probably won't agree with that. It might not even get close to happening. But I truthfully believe that Vaquer, chasing, going for the championship instead of being the champion is the right way to use her character and utilize where her position is on the card. So I'm taking Nikki Bella to win this match and win the world title. I think it'd be a fun shock. I don't think anybody would see it coming. And then you can rebuild Stephanie Vaquer up forth as we get to Rumble season. And then, you can get a WrestleMania match out of it somehow. You can, build up the Elimination Chamber with Stephanie Vaquer. You could do a lot with Stephanie Vaquer with two huge shows, the Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, to build her back up if she's not champion. So I'm going to pick Nikki Bella, even though I think the odds are definitely stacked against her. Let's transition into the women's War Games match. And this is a very, very interesting group of women here for the women's War Games. We've got Becky Lynch, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Lash Legend, and Nia Jax taking on the star-studded AJ Lee, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Io Sky, and Rhea Bloody Ripley. I would, dare I say, think that it's, again, simplified here, where I think this is too much of a lopsided babyface team to lose, especially when there's really there's no cause for people blowing up. I think everybody's on the up and up here. I think Rhea Ripley's on her way back to the title picture. I think AJ Lee could be involved with something down the line in the title picture if Becky Lynch ends up getting the Intercontinental title back. Charlotte and Alexa lost the tag titles, but I think they're still on the up and up. And Io Sky has scores to settle with the Kabuki Warriors. So I think for this women's War Games match, I think it is very, not obvious, but I think it's very, I'm going to simplify it where I think AJ Lee is going to get the pin over Becky Lynch or the submission, and that's how War Games is going to conclude. So I'm going to take the babyface team for women's War Games, the team of Rhea, Io, Alexa, Charlotte, and AJ Lee. But I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to get the, yearly Io Sky trash can over the head, moonsault off the top of the War Games cage. I think that's a pretty obvious move. And yeah, I think it'll be exciting. I'm going to hesitate to try to compare what we saw at the women's Blood and Guts match to whatever we see at War Games because it's two separate companies. There's not a lot crazier that you can do with Blood and Guts that War Games will never touch. Even as a PLE on ESPN, they just won't do what AEW did. And that's fine. I still think there's a lot of intrigue and a lot of excitement with the War Games match as it is on WWE TV. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think both Blood and Guts and War Games have their place. But I'm going to take the babyface team for the women to win the match. Singles match IC title. John Cena in his final PLE match, defending the Intercontinental Championship that he just won off of Dominic Mysterio to complete the Grand Slam. He won it in Boston, in Cena's hometown, taking on Dominic Mysterio in Dominic Mysterio's hometown of San Diego, California. It's a return match. It's Cena's final PLE. It is remarkable to know that at one point, SummerSlam 05, John Cena was defending the WWE title against Chris Jericho. And in the same card, you had Dominic Mysterio in his custody up for grabs in a ladder match between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, which is pretty insane. And the fact that 20 years later, John Cena is going to be defending the Intercontinental title of all things against Dominic Mysterio in Dom's hometown after Dom lost the title to Cena in Cena's hometown is such a unique way of presenting this. And I love every bit of it. I love the fact that Dom is in this spot and Cena is willing to work with a guy like the younger talent. Potentially put him over, we'll see. Because I don't think, I'll say it like this, I don't think, let's say Gunther wins the tournament, I don't think all of a sudden they're going to put the championship on the line in the tournament. I think it's just going to automatically be a one-off match for Cena in the end. And I just love the Dirty Dom character, his evolution, where he came from to start with SummerSlam 2020 in the Thunderdome, and just the fact that he's grown so much and he's gotten to a point of Eddie Guerrero 2.0. I mean, that's his true father after all. But to see him doing the Latino Heat thing, doing the, Mamacita thing with multiple different women's characters, Rhea and Liv, and I love everything he does. And he's been doing the, lie, cheat, steal thing with the chair and just certain things he does that are so perfectly coded Eddie Guerrero, and Dom does them so well that you can't help but love the guy. And he's become a heel that everybody loves to boo, which is the respect jeer. And I think that's something to behold in pro wrestling in 2025. And especially in San Diego, we had WrestleMania in Las Vegas and the fans cheered Dominic Mysterio win the IC title. So much so that he came out for a curtain call and they cheered him again. He ran back down the ring, and I loved every second of that, and I'm going to love what I think is going to be a Dominic Mysterio Intercontinental Championship win with dastardly, dirty tactics, I'm sure, in San Diego, where the crowd probably wants to cheer him because he's from San Diego, but because it's John Cena's final PLE and because Dom is just a bad guy, they're going to go crazy either way. And I think that this crowd is going to be very, very split, which I think will be an amazing atmosphere because of these two guys. You know, do you want to cheer Cena in his final PLE, or do you want to cheer the hometown guy that you deep down love and respect, even though he's supposed to be this, POS character? What a unique dynamic it's going to be, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds. So, ultimately, I'm going to pick Dominic Mysterio to retain this, or regain his championship. I don't know. I'd love to see just a roll up, or just something unique to get the win. I'd have more of an interest in saying, someone will cost Cena the victory if Gunther had already won the tournament, or whoever was already the last guy to take on Cena to potentially cost him the match as a build, because I don't think you necessarily need a build for the last match for Cena, but it could have been more unique to have the intrigue of that, where not only are you going to get the last match against Cena, but you're going to cost him in his last PLE, cost him the title that made him the Grand Slam champion. That probably won't happen, but I think Dom gets the victory. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to this match, the dynamic of the crowd, and just the nostalgia. It's John Cena's final PLE. He just recently got his 100th PLE victory, and I think it's going to be special, and I'm looking forward to it. 20 years of Cena as such a top guy, and we're winding down, and we're going to have the full Saturday night's main event. The Last Time Is Now prediction show in a couple of weeks, so tune in for that. But let's conclude the Survivor Series predictions with the men's War Games match. This thing is stacked. The Paul Heyman-led team of Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed taking on Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jay, the Usos, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk. Seth Rollins clearly was supposed to be involved here, but with the injury and vacating the championship, it is what it is. And now you have CM Punk as World Heavyweight Champion, Cody Rhodes as the WWE Champion, the Usos on one side, the Vision on the other side, Roman and Brock on opposite sides. A lot of combustible elements here. Drew McIntyre hates the Usos and Cody and CM Punk and Roman, so he hates all five. Lesnar has a problem with CM Punk, Cody, and Roman. And because he has a problem with Roman, he's had a problem with the Usos. The Vision has a problem with CM Punk and the Usos and Cody and Roman. Everybody, the storylines are so intertwined with this War Games match. It's going to be really intriguing to see the dynamics of it. And I'm just thrilled that it's all coming together like it is. And I could see any number of things happening. I like that Logan Paul's in this match because I think he's somewhat of a wild card. However, I think you're going to get a great viral moment. Logan Paul jumping off the top of a cage, what have you. I think you're going to get something insane in that regard. And I am very much looking forward to that because he has given quite the viral moments since, coming into WWE a few years ago. But here's my prediction for this show, or for this match rather. I think we are coming to not the end of the bloodline, because that'll never happen, but I think there needs to be a shakeup. I think this match ends with a champion being pinned, Cody or CM Punk. I think whoever is next in line for one of those titles, potentially Brock Lesnar, will get the victory over Punk or Cody to set up whether it's a match at Saturday Night's Main Event in December or in January. I think that's where we'll lead with that, and that's who will effectively get pinned. So I think the heel team of Lesnar, Braun, Breakker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre. I think those guys will win. But I will say this. This is my other pretty bold prediction. I'm not sure if it'll happen during the match. I'm not sure if it'll happen after the match. But I am now under the suspicion that even after weeks and weeks of going back and forth, but now being with his brother again and everything's kind of fine now, I have a feeling that Jey Uso is going to turn on Roman Reigns with a super kick. And I'm not going to say he's going to join with Paul Heyman, but I think that it is time for Jey Uso to pack away the yeet clothes and lean into something much darker, much more heelish, and have the opportunity for Jimmy to ascend as a babyface, get help with Roman, and potentially take out Jey later down the line. I don't know whether they redo that match from WrestleMania or if they hit that match at the Rumble or Chamber, or you have both the Usos in the Elimination Chamber, or you start the Rumble off with each guy. I just have a sneaking suspicion that it is all but over, and Jey Uso is going to turn heel on Roman Reigns, which would be a monumental moment in Survivor Series history. So that is my bold prediction. I think that's going to happen, and I would love to see it, to be honest with you. I think the Bloodline could get a shakeup. I think it would be beneficial to all involved, and I think they're going to progress the storylines accordingly with whoever takes out either Cody or CM Punk. Whoever gets the pin or submits one of those two guys, I think will be next in line for their respective championships. And I think that's a great way to use and utilize the War Games stipulation. So, 4 matches on this show. Petco Park, San Diego, California, the 39th Survivor Series taking place Saturday night. John Cena's final PLE. A lot going on, and I'm looking forward to watching it, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this show. As always, follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen, at Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram. Subscribe to this show on YouTube at JuicySteen. Listen to the show on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, JuicySteen.podbean, and of course I mentioned YouTube. And if you do listen to it on Apple Podcasts, via iTunes, or on Spotify, hell, even on YouTube, leave a comment there. Leave a rating and review. It helps the show grow. Really appreciate all the support from all of you out there. Really enjoy diving deep. We had a fun watch-along tweet session there for Full Gear. Full Gear was a very interesting pay-per-view. And, we'll get back to more regularly scheduled pro wrestling talk next week. We'll talk a little Continental Classic and how that's shaping out, how Full Gear began and ended. And, of course, we'll have the recap of Survivor Series War Games that will be taking place here in a day. So, all that and much more here on this program. But to close out, I'm going to say Nikki Bella will win the Women's World title. Dominic Mysterio will win the Intercontinental title. Becky Lynch, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, and the Kabuki Warriors will win the Women's War Games. Actually, no, I got that messed up. The Babyface team will win the Women's War Games match. And I believe that the Men's War Games match will go to Logan Paul, The Vision, Drew McIntyre, and Brock Lesnar. And I also think that Jey Uso will turn heel on Roman Reigns. So, all that being said, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of football, a lot of pro wrestling these last couple of weeks. And we're almost into December, which means we are a month away from Royal Rumble time to begin that road to WrestleMania. The most wonderful time of the year if you're a pro wrestling fan. And if you're a pro wrestling fan and you listen to the Juice Box, I appreciate you wholeheartedly. That's what I'm thankful for each and every year as we approach year 3 of the Juice Box. So I am Juice Springsteen. Hopefully you guys enjoy Survivor Series, and hopefully you did enjoy the Survivor Series 2025 War Games prediction show right here on the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.